So happy to welcome you at the Watchman magazine. This magazine has been founded many years ago by a writer, Samuel Coleridge. It's about connection between the arts and the social events and how relevant is the art. So you are artistic director of the Dutch National Ballet Academy, and also you're developing talents. We have got this theme, a topic in the next issue about saving the souls. Do you think development of the talents saves the souls?
I think it's hugely important. I think developing talent, any talent really, but working in the arts, I think is a privilege. And if we can develop and give young people the gift of the art, then we can really give them something for life, something that they can share, something they can treasure, something they can work hard for, and something that brings them connection with other people.
All right. How was your own talent discovered and developed? Please tell me.
I come from a family of musicians. Both my parents were pianists, and they taught the piano as well. So music was a big thing at home. I played the violin myself for quite a while, and actually that was something that I almost went into professionally. But at the same time, I was also dancing. I started dancing when I was 4 years old.
Yes.
Because my mum thought I was quite, she didn't think so. I was quite shy. And dancing was something that you could do with other people very easily, and you didn't have to talk so much, but you were still connected to other people. So that's how I got into dancing when I was 4 years old. And obviously, like anybody that then starts training professionally, at some point when I was 9 or 10 years old, people said, "Wouldn't you want to audition for Dutch National Ballet Academy? That's a professional school." I had absolutely no idea what that meant. But I got in, and then you get started as you do. And yeah, it's quite amazing that I'm now in a position where I run the school, where I once started as a dancer myself.
For how many years have you been playing violin?
I played the violin for about 8 or 9 years. When I first went into Das National Ballet Academy, I still kept playing the violin as well. And then, of course, at some point, dancing takes over fully, and you really need to spend the time that you've got. There's only
So,
24 hours in a day, so you keep dancing.
so as everybody knows, playing the violin and dancing ballet is both very difficult stuff. So compare what is more difficult, to dance, to practice the ballet or the violin?
I don't think one can compare, and I think actually I'm glad that I was able to experience both, because music and dance are so connected, and being able to understand what it is playing an instrument, being able to read the score. That is, I think, a luxury for a dancer. I, of course, also have been choreographing, and understanding what music is written down, and the layers of music from having played the violin myself is only incredibly helpful. I think it's important for dancers to have a real understanding of music.
What would you say? How important is it for everybody to enjoy the music and the dance and other arts? So, which relevance does this has for the society in general?
Well, I think if you look back at any part of the world, whatever culture you live in, music and dance is something that we've always done. And anybody has danced, anybody has played music in whatever way or form. I'm not talking about being a professional dancer or musicians, but in any culture, music and dance play an incredibly important role. So it's something we can all do. It's something we can all enjoy at any time. And I think apart from it bringing joy, it brings connection to other people. It's something that one can share. It brings something you talked about, the soul. It brings layers to us, and understanding of what humans are on a different layer that perhaps sometimes words can't explain. I think dance can sometimes explain things better than we can in words. And I think that's the wonderful thing. And talking about connection, I think in the world that we live today, perhaps even more than ever, finding those connections is hugely important. And we do that through dance. We do that through bringing dance professionally on stage. And I'm lucky to be able to be in a position where we program dance and we can share that with an audience. But we do also do that at Dutch National Ballet in different ways. We're currently working on a fantastic community project with lots of people from the city of Amsterdam that are all coming together and learning a work together, having their own versions of it. And some of those people have danced before and some of them have never danced before. But the fact that we bring them all together through our art form is hugely important.
And one could say at the end of the day, if someone asks what for, actually do we need ballet if we have nothing to do with that on a professional level, these people will be able to answer the question.
I think hopefully more and more people will be able to answer that question. I think ballet and dance in general, but also ballet, I think is and can be very relevant. And of course, it is my job and people in my position. I think we have a huge responsibility to always make sure that the art form does stay relevant, and that does mean reaching out, looking at the world around us, and making sure that we do make interesting connections. And ballet has always been great at making connections. If you look at choreographers in the past, if you look at, for example, what George Balanchine did when he moved to New York, and how he immersed himself into the cultural life there, but also into what New York had to offer, and the jazz music that was there, and that influenced his dance again. And I think so. So ballet has always been influenced naturally by whatever is around. What is around is different these days, and I think it's very important that we look around our cities and our communities as to who is around, what stories are around, what connections we can make in order to make sure that ballet always stays relevant and tells those stories and remains a really important way of communicating.
Absolutely, it has also a strong component in the education. So if we try to see what's dance, some children and young people, they see TikTok dances, and to explain the difference between the dance and the TikTok dance, could you please do that for me?
Well, I think, like I've said before, I think anybody that dances, I am a fan, because I think dance in any form is exciting. But of course, it is different training as a professional dancer, and having to train for many hours a day, and it becomes a craft. And by doing so, and by learning the A to Z of ballet, A to Z of ballet, which takes many years, one almost learns another language, and that is that language that we can be poetic with. We can almost write poems in different ways. They're dance poems. We can interpret music. We can interpret feelings. We can bring things across that sometimes, like I mentioned previously, sometimes words can't explain. And I think that is when ballet is done, when dance is done at its very best, and when we're able to explore that depth, then we've got something very special.
And there is also no reason to fear the ballet. So I guess if we speak about larger audience, it might make lots of sense to motivate people to do ballet themselves, because it has also a role. Let's say it can save health. It brings you music and feeling of dancing, no matter on what level you are, even if you suffer some issues with your health. The actual classical ballet has lots of things to offer. Would you agree with me?
I totally agree. And I think one of the most wonderful examples was during the COVID period.
That's where you did these brilliant videos. I do enjoy myself.
Yes, we did all of these videos with ballet classes that, to be honest, we started those ballet classes because we were talking within our company, with our director, Ted Brunson, and myself. We were talking, how do we keep our dancers going while they're at home and they can't move? So we decided to record some classes, and I did so just with myself and a pianist in the studio, and we put them on YouTube, and they were actually meant for our own dancers. And unbelievably, the whole world started to do those classes. They absolutely went viral. And
Because they are amazing. It's amazing what you do on these videos. It's absolutely amazing. It's
well, thank you. And it was a wonderful way of connecting to people again. And what is incredible, I still get people writing to me that they're still doing the classes, that they're still using them. So again, it shows that ballet can connect us even during that very difficult time of the COVID period, and that and those classes were for anyone,
yeah,
people
it's,
with experience or not.
they are certainly saving the souls. I must tell you that. But there's, imagination, or let's say this art is a sort of magic. Yeah, we can say any art is magic. And then we say that ballet dancers, they play with the gravity, so your people can fly. Would you agree? You fly, right?
Yes, and it's never a given. It's never done. It's never the wonderful thing, and also the difficult thing about ballet is, um, it's an art form that lives in the moment, and it's a fleeting moment. And once the performance is gone, it's also gone. It's not like a painting that is hanging on the wall. So it's only that very moment, and that means that you have to create that moment again every single time, and it's never the same. And I always say to many of our young dancers, that is our craft, and it's also why it's so incredibly fragile, because it's never a given, and every day again, every performance again, every rehearsal again, you have to invest and you have to work very hard to create again and to find a next moment, or to find new layers, and thereby creating a new version of the ballet every time.
Talking about this point, how do you find the balance between the perfection and inspiration? So how not to kill the spirit with trying to get this perfect technique?
I think perfection is a very difficult word, and I think we should try not to use it. I think what we do with our A to Z of ballet, our alphabet dancers on a professional level, train every day very hard to explore their capabilities further. But perfection is a difficult word, and it doesn't exist. What is important is that in that daily investment and the commitment to wanting to explore further every day, to being open like a sponge. I always say to our young dancers, to wanting to understand that if you've danced one leg 10 times, you've only just started to explore it a tiny little bit. And the next 10 performances will open up new doors and new avenues and new understanding. And that continues.
As a choreographer, you mentioned Swan Lake. Swan Lake, the libretto was written many hundred years ago. The story is not really up to date, and nonetheless, we love the Swan Lake. How do you imagine how can we keep it traditional and known and beautiful and get this classical art up to date without losing the authenticity and genuine shape of classical piece?
I think authenticity lies within what we do with our technique. We have a certain, I keep saying, alphabet A to Z, and that we must treasure, because that is the way we write. That is the way words are for poets, and that's the way notes are for musicians. That is, we have a certain A to Z too for ballet, and that we must absolutely treasure and explore further and expand further. And it does continue to be expanded by choreographers that are alive. I think ballet training, um, at any given moment, continues to explore itself, because choreographers demand different things at different times. And that's what's so exciting. So it's the choreographers that I think are always leading, that are looking around, that are looking at what society is offering. They're coming up with ideas that are new and fresh, and a given, and therefore our art form continues to explore itself and continues to develop itself, and the language will naturally also continue developing.
Continue developing. Would you say that the arts, the classical arts, and our cultural life, as we imagine that in the Western society, is in danger to disappear?
No, I don't think it's in danger to disappear. I think um, I see incredible ballet dancers around. I see incredible choreographers and dance makers around. I see excited young people that love this art form. I think what's very important is that we listen to those young people and that we give them space and that we give them platforms to really be themselves and explore their ideas, because they are the next generation that are going to take the art form forward. But I think they are excited about it, and I think it's listening to them, giving them space, and yeah, giving their voices space.
You know, the classical arts, no matter music, the dance, even theater, enjoys the reputation of an elitist good for a small circle of people with money, and that's actually completely wrong. So, how can we possibly motivate people to pay for classical arts? You know, like they pay for the Netflix abonnement or any other thing. Uh, what can be done to prevent the lack of demand?
Well, I think it's at any given time, it's always hugely important that we through connection with people that we've talked about quite a bit, it's connecting with people, but it's realizing how one connects with people. Um, and I mean with that, we need to make sure that we tell the stories that are relevant to people and to different groups that live in large cities where ballet companies exist and in the countries. And through telling stories and through giving space to those stories, we can connect to all of these people, and we need to do that, and we can't just sit still and expect people to just come to us. That's not how it works. We've really got to make an effort there, and that's exciting too, because again, it's not making an effort to just bring people in. It is making an effort because that is what keeps our art form relevant.
Absolutely. And you know, we say the art is has nothing to do with the politics. At the end of the day, what would you say? How relevant is the art in the politics, and how much of speech, how much of weight can the art have among the political content?
I think within art, within dance, within ballet, we can show different perspectives at any time. And I think that is the wonderful thing about being artists, that we are able to at any time show different perspectives. And different perspectives are important. We can't solve the large problems that happen in the world, but we can show different perspectives and we can make people think. And therefore, I think it is important, as we look at what stories ballet tells, that we also give space to choreographers that want to create works that talk about some of these issues, and young choreographers do. And at the same time, we're trying to connect to other art forms, and to other forms of dance at Das National Ballet. We've had some really exciting collaborations with Is Dance Collective, a group of dancers that are really into hip hop and voguing, and we've had some really wonderful mixed performances between ballet and hip hoppers. And I've been lucky enough to create some of those myself. And it's amazing what happens through those connections, because again, it's bringing people together and telling different stories that are relevant now.
When you choreograph, when you do the choreography, do you think in movements, or do you have the entire show in your mind straight away, or you do movement by movement?
Well, I think one always has a clear picture of where one wants to go with a ballet. If I talk about the last large production, Dorian, that was a mix between the hip hoppers and the ballet company, and based on the story of Dorian Gray, but set in a more contemporary setting. And that is a two-act performance, and of course one has a clear understanding of where that evening goes. and there's a lot of preparation that goes in before one goes into the studio with dancers. So you have a clear understanding, but the actual steps and the making of steps, that happens in the ballet studio with dancers. And I think that's also hugely important, because that means that you can have real interaction, and dancers are creators too, and it becomes co-creation, which is, I think, important.
Right. I would like to ask you a question which every child would ask you. Please tell us who invented the ballet? Who invented all these movements? We know.
Well, we all know where ballet started at the royal courts, and then how it all developed. So who invented it? There was a starting point. That was that seed, and then we see how it through Russia and through many, and developed in many different countries in different ways. If we look at the English school, the French school, the Danish school, and of course, I'm at Das National Ballet. I very much look at how our ballet developed, and our ballet company is perhaps slightly younger than other companies that have existed for 200 or 300 years. Ballet in Holland is younger, but again, we've been very lucky to have some wonderful choreographers, like, for example, Hans Vermaan, and we're still very lucky to have around us at the age of 92. And Hans invented ballet in Holland as such, together with some other important choreographers like Tour van Schaik and Rudy van Danzig. So we invented all those ballet steps. Again, they're being invented and reinvented all the time. That language keeps exploring itself and keeps expanding itself. And that is, I think that's with any language. Language is continuously in development, and that is sometimes, I think, where perhaps people can get a little stuck or afraid, that we think we have to hold on to it. And I think we will always hold on. We shouldn't have to be afraid to lose anything, but we can indeed continue to add, and we must continue to add.
As society who cherishes the culture, despite the almost World War III, do we have a future? Can we save what can be saved and enjoy the classical art?
Well, we indeed, you've pointed out something very important. We indeed live in an incredibly difficult world at the moment, where I think there is so much hardship, and there's so many things that I know, young and old, we all switch on the TV, we open the newspaper, we look on our phones, and it worries us, and sometimes that can feel like one can feel helpless through and feel like one can't influence all of these things. And again, as much as I know that the art can't solve the world's problems, I think it gives us something to hold on to. It gives us something to show different perspectives. It gives us something to bring connection, to bring joy, to bring different emotions through our arts, that are, especially when times are hard, can give hope. And I think that hope is important.
Hope is definitely important. Your favorite piece of music is former musician, still musician.
Oh, that is also a really difficult one, because I think that changes through time. I think when I was younger, I would have said I was a big fan of Rachmaninoff, and still am. But those things change over time, and I don't have one favorite piece of music.
A book?
Also a difficult one. I love reading. I love reading a lot. And yeah, difficult one to just pick one. Sorry, I'm not very good at these.
On the trip on the moon. Ah, difficult.
Trip on the moon?
And there's so many librettos, right? It's
Yes.
really hard. If I might ask you, what do you wish for the future, for your own future, for all of us future?
Well, those are two big questions. I'll try and answer the one for myself. I think I'm incredibly lucky to be able to be in a position to work with all of these young artists and to be able to make connections and beautiful performances with them. Um, I hope I can continue doing that for many more years, because that is I'm aware that it's a privilege to do, and it's an absolute joy. Um, and as your bigger question, what I wish for all of us, that through our arts, that we can continue to connect, and that we can continue to bring people together, show these different perspectives that we've talked about, because hugely important in the world, maybe important now more than ever.
Absolutely, because where is a dialogue, there is no fight. As long we can speak to one another, we probably won't kill each other, right? So,
Absolutely, that's a very important point, and the dialogue is so important, and it's a craft that perhaps we have not practiced so well anymore. Having a dialogue, one doesn't have to agree. It's absolutely fine to disagree, and let's practice that a little bit more again. It's fine to disagree, but continue to speak to each other.
how would you describe the term of tolerance? What does it mean to you?
Well, tolerance is tolerance and empathy. All of those words are connected. All of those being able to feel, um, to understand other people, and even if one doesn't understand, to be interested in other people, to want to understand a little bit more of what makes them tick, why are they thinking different things, having a dialogue that we just mentioned with them, and through doing so, realizing that we have much more in common than we think very often. And being tolerant to that other person around us, on the work floor, in life, to our neighbors, it's very important.
As I like to close the interview usually at the Watchman, you are free to ask me any question in return.
Oh, what a beautiful thing! Um, well, if I can ask you then, what do you think that if we could do one thing in ballet and in performance, what do you think we should bring?
The YouTube videos with you, please.
Look into that. I'll promise we'll look into that, and we'll see if at some given time perhaps we can do
Because
another.
it has an amazing capacity, at the one hand, to educate young people and children who are about to study ballet, and on the other, people who are just enjoying doing ballet for themselves on this level you offer. So that's the best balance, what one could do in your position to offer these videos, because you really save not only souls but also life quality of so many people around here. That's my answer. And thank you so much for this interview, and I enjoyed the conversation very much, and I'm sure our audience will do the same. And now, thank you for the interview. There are two things. There's a Dutch composer. His name is Piet-Jan van Rossum. I interviewed him too lately. And there was a story 3 years ago. I don't know if you know dancer Sergei Polonin, his management. They made demand for a project for a libretto story with students, young people, dancing young people, Ukrainian and Russians together. And on demand, I wrote a libretto, but we could not find each other ideologically, so it died. And the Dutch composer, he came to me, and we would like to revive the idea, and that's why I said I will talk to you about that. That is a medieval story, and it was actually meant to explore passacales and chaconnes, but combining the old versions of passacales, because in my past life I'm violinist, so I've recorded this passacales and Bach chaconnes, to build a bridge between the old dances and styles and the contemporary. So it combines Passacales by Bieber and Purcell with contemporary. Pietiancho composed a contemporary Passacale, which has to be a dance, not an abstract piece of music, but a danceable. And for this, I wrote this story, and that's about love, and that's about what love means. And here we come to our problem with Sergei. My story is meant to be in 3 versions, so it's about all sorts of love. And now I'm going politically. To me, the first sign of fascism is homophobia. Where is homophobia? There is fascism. So that's why it is for children and for young people essentially to bring these topics on the stage to me. So how to save the soul? Let's try to point this. So if you might find time to read the story and to tell me your feedback, if you might be interested, it's about to bring young dancers and young musicians on the same stage and stage the story, but with 3 couples. It has to be clear that I wrote the story just for 1 version, but in fact it has to be clear in 3 versions. Would you be interested to have a read and then?
Please send it to me. Absolutely. Please send it to me, and then I can have a read and then understand it better. Yes, do please send it to me.
So I use the email I've got from Mikhail, right?
Yes, you can use that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Looking forward. And the last question, and this is very personal, and that is all about for whom I do my connection to ballet, and for whom I find you on the YouTube. I've got a 10 years old daughter, which in my opinion is extremely talented. So really talented, and she choreographs herself from the age of 5. I find you because I was searching for her to practice on something what is really on a special, really good level, and you've got a perfect technique. Could you recommend in which age would it make sense to come to show her? Because I don't want her to get bad technique now. If now someone like you will, if she came on that level, then she won't get bad habits in her body.
Well, at Dutch National Ballet Academy, we're not a boarding school, so that is always an important factor to understand. So the lower classes are mainly Dutch students that live in Holland and that travel back and forward every day. And the more international students usually join us around the age of 15, 16. It is possible to join us earlier, but we see very often then it's usually that the whole family moves to Holland, because then they've got to live close to Amsterdam. You've got to be able to. We have our own primary school as part of the, and of course the schooling connected to the ballet school. But again, then you have to learn Dutch. You have to go to school and do exams in Dutch.
No.
So that is a possibility. But that's a much bigger step, of
Is
course.
it possible at least once to come over to show her? Because I just want to someone from Europe.
It is always possible to come and visit the school, and we all of our audition information, of course, is on our website of Dutch National Ballet Academy, and it's always possible to come and visit the school to see what the
No,
school.
not visit the school, but have a class with someone like you from your environment for at least once to give you really inspiration to
give her inspiration. Yes. Well, that is something I'd have to look into depending on time and when you would come to visit. But perhaps you can always stay in touch about that.
Thank you so much. Looking forward. Give me a feedback about the libretto.
Yes.
And I hope to see you in person.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.